Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of Formula 1 2019 Career Mode. Obviously, if you watched last episode, you know that we chose Haas as our team, Rich Energy Haas F1 team. So hopefully we can have some strong runs here with this team. Obviously today our first F1 race is at the Australian Grand Prix, but hopefully we can get like a top 10. It's kind of what I was aiming for. I think that's one of our team goals, was really to be just getting points in the top 10 was like our qualifying goal. But as we come to qualifying, or sorry, practice one, it was pretty dry, just getting through in the track acclimatization at this point. The car was feeling pretty good. There was a little bit of oversteer here and there, but other than that, the car was pretty strong there. As you see me getting up on the curb there out of the chicane, getting a little bit unsettled there, but it was pretty good. We came through on the exit, running a solid lap. We would have a great practice, do a qualifying trim as well, and then we would call it there and head out into our first qualifying session of our F1 career, where it would be raining pretty hard here for the first round and second round of qualifying. So it was certainly, I wasn't sure how it was going to be, because obviously in the past games I've always struggled a lot in the rain. So I was a little bit concerned that our first F1 qualifying was going to go really bad. But to my surprise, I can tell you before qualifying started, I felt actually stronger with the pace in the car compared to the AI in the rain than I did when it was dry. I will point out that I had to turn the AI down to 106. I might put it back to 107, but right now it's at 106 just for the Australian Grand Prix, which is pretty low, I know, but we decided to go with that because it certainly was a bit of a challenge last episode. So I put it to 106 for this one. We'll see how it goes. We might have to turn it up here for the next few episodes. But we were coming through in our first qualifying lap here in Q1, setting a pretty decent time. The main goal, obviously, just to get into the top 15 to make it to the second round. As we came through, crossing the line, we would go P5 with a 137.398. So obviously I call it there, and we fall down to P12 just behind our teammate Roman Grosjean by the end of the session. But we're into the second round, and that was all that mattered. And as we came through, completing our lap in the second round, once again up in the top 10 now, and it would be good enough to make it to the final round. As we went P7, our teammate Roman Grosjean, he would be eliminated in round 2, so now it was time to start the final session, and it was actually dry by the time we started the final session. The track was still improving, and I didn't really fully realize that at the time, so I just went out and made a pretty solid lap here. Hamilton, he was currently P1, but like I said, the track was constantly improving even when I was going out, so I ended up running a really good lap at this time compared to what the AI had run before me. Now as we're coming through down towards the chicane, getting through there pretty well, heading down into the penultimate corner now into the final corners. To my surprise, like I said at the time, I didn't realize the track was still improving, so I came across the line. We would actually go P1 for the moment, but it would not stick at all. As the track improved, everyone ran faster than me and completely destroyed me, and we will start P10 for the Australian Grand Prix. Our former teammate Lucas Weber, he will start P7 in the Racing Point car. Devin Butler, our rival, in the 8th position. So now let's get into the race here in Australia.
New drivers, new cars, it's a new Formula 1 season. But it's the same Albert Park that we've come to know and love for more than 2 decades now that plays host to round 1 of a 21-race championship that takes us from here in Australia across the globe and the eventual season finale at the Yas Island circuit in Abu Dhabi. The Melbourne circuit is certainly one that needs to be taken seriously. Its combination of slippery surfaces and difficult corners make it a tricky track when it comes to overtakes. Drivers find it hard to pass and will need to take full advantage of those DRS zones if they want to have any hope of breaking through. We have plenty of changes to the sport this year, with tweaks to the regulations, a fresh-looking spread of tyre compounds, and of course some changes to the roster of car manufacturers. It's goodbye to Sauber and hello once again to the classic name of Alfa Romeo in Formula 1. It's also goodbye to Force India. They've been rebranded as Racing Point. Joining me to take you through all the action of the 2019 Formula 1 season is Anthony Davidson. And it's great to have you with us.
Thanks, Crofty. Always happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to getting underway. Last year was Mercedes' 5th Constructors' title in a row, although for the first half of the season it was absolutely neck and neck with the Ferraris. Hopefully this year we can see the chasing pack take that final step, as I'd love to see a championship contest all the way up to the final race in Abu Dhabi. Another story to keep an eye on is the performance of Red Bull, who have switched to the Honda power unit this year. What that will mean for both their performance and reliability remains to be seen.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and starting alongside in P2 is Sebastian Vettel. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Bottas, Leclerc, Max Verstappen, and Gasly, Weber, Butler, Ricciardo, and the Rainmaster, Perez, Grosjean, Carlos Sainz, and Raikkonen, Kvyat, Albon, Antonio Giovinazzi, and George Russell. Kubica and Lando Norris starts from the back of the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
You should have some space going into the first corner, so try to keep it tidy.
I will try my best, Jeff. There we would come through to actually change the strategy in the car. But you saw a grid penalty for, I believe it was a Williams there already here in this season. I can't remember who it was now, but yeah, I would change the strategy. It was a two-stop originally, but after having a conversation with my friend Jay, as you guys know him as a moderator on the channel, the one-stop worked pretty well for him, so I decided, okay, we're going to try the one-stop as well here, as I was deciding here to do the soft to medium. Going to be hard to memorize the tires. I'm thinking red of super softs and obviously yellow of soft, but now it's soft on the reds this weekend, mediums on the yellow, and white is a hard tire. Now as we're ready to start our first Formula 1 race here, I would do a formation lap just to get warmed up there, as we were lights out for the formation lap and we were going just to get a little bit of a practice start here behind the Renault of Daniel Ricciardo and our rival of Devin Butler. I'd love to just go and punt him off at the track into turns 1, but obviously we can't do that now. And as we came through, getting ready now to start our first Formula 1 race. From the 10th starting position behind us, we got Sergio Perez on the left-hand side there. Daniel Ricciardo right behind us, our teammate Roman Grosjean, a lot more experience than myself coming into this race. He might have the upper hand as we're ready to go green here for the Australian Grand Prix. It's 5 red lights now, and we are going here in Australia. Lewis Hamilton, P1, as he heads down towards turns 1. A bit of a shaky start for myself as Hamilton holds off Sebastian Vettel as they go through turns 1 for the first time. Grosjean looking to my left-hand side. We make a little bit of contact with our teammate of Grosjean on the opening start here in the Australian Grand Prix. Not a good start at all for myself in my first F1 race, down to P12 after starting P10, and once we got going, I noticed right away I put too much fuel in the car, or I left too much fuel in the car. I forgot to take some out. So I knew for the first 5 or 6 laps maybe we're going to be a little bit slower than what I could be, so it was certainly just about managing the fuel at this point. Now as we came to later on the first lap, we already had a move from Carlos Sainz looking up my inside as we head down through the 3rd sector. He is certainly looking for that 12th position, and as we head into the penultimate corner, I decided to back out of it and let him have the position here. It's only lap 1. We have another 28 laps to make it up now. As we came to lap 3, still running behind Sainz, but he was starting to put a bit of a gap on me as Daniel Kvyat had run me down at this point now as we head down towards the chicane. So certainly not showing the speed right away in these first handful of laps, but I was confident we could pick the pace up as the fuel ran lower in this car. And we would start closing in actually on Carlos Sainz and the cars ahead, as there was someone having an issue up ahead, and that would grip us all back together as we came to just a few laps later in this Grand Prix on lap 5. Now you see this big group of cars as there's a yellow now up ahead, and it's Daniel Ricciardo with issues, and we have a big stoppage, and we look to the left of Grosjean there, just about getting into the back of our teammate and locking up to stay away from hitting Sainz there. But a big moment behind us is Daniel Ricciardo. He pulls off the track, our first retirement of the season. Surpriser there, that is Daniel Ricciardo with a mechanical issue. But as we head down towards the chicane, Grosjean, he has a big run on me, and he is going to take the position back as we head down towards the chicane. Obviously we got past him there as he slowed up a lot for Daniel Ricciardo. He would pass us back, like I said, and as we came to another lap later, Valtteri Bottas would have a mechanical issue, and he would be our second DNF of this race and obviously of the season. A top driver here for Mercedes out early in the Australian Grand Prix, so unfortunate for Valtteri Bottas, but we would continue on here now in the 11th position behind Roman Grosjean there, as we are hoping to beat our teammate in today's episode. That would be a great start now as Kvyat has a great launch down the little bend here, and he is able to get past me as well as he completely caught me off guard right here but thankfully we would be able to actually get past him. I forgot to show that, but we'd get past him and run down our rival of Devin Butler, who was starting to fall off the pace. You see him going for a little bit of a defensive line into that corner now as we head down the bend towards the chicane, looking to his left-hand side, seeing if we can complete the pass, but I decided to let him have the position. Obviously, you don't want to be side by side going into the chicane, so now we can set him up for the DRS straightaway here out of the chicane as we have the run now. We look to his right-hand side of Devin Butler as we come through the bend. He certainly squeezed me down towards the grass, but he left me the room on the exit, and we get past Butler, and now we are up into points here in Australia, getting a little bit sideways there on the exit of that corner, but we would now set our sights on Carlos Sainz there in the McLaren, and hopefully we would have the speed to run him down, and we would have the speed to run him down as we came to lap 9 on the out of the chicane again on the DRS straightaway, looking to the left-hand side of Sainz as we head down into the right-hander here in the third and final sector of the course. And we would go side by side still here into the right-hander as he's not wanting to give up the position. But as we go into the penultimate corner, we do get the position from Sainz now as we have a little bit of oversteer on the exit of the corner, getting into the grass. But Sainz, he would actually come to pit road this lap, and now we would be coming through on lap 12 to make our first pit stop. Sebastian Vettel coming through to set the fastest lap here on this 12th lap as I'm coming through once again the penultimate corner, heading down into the pit lane for the first time in my F1 career now. 76% on the left rear, so certainly in danger territory. So obviously we come to the pit lane. Our teammate Roman Grosjean, I believe, had already made his pit stop, or he's still out. I couldn't remember at the time, but we come through into our pit box now. A pretty decent stop from the team. Not perfect there, but we put on the medium compound, and we were expecting this to take us the whole way for the rest of this race, as there's a 3.0 second pit stop now as we get ready to exit the pit lane, though now falling behind Carlos Sainz, who we had just passed a few laps earlier. So certainly the undercut works brilliantly for Carlos Sainz, and we had some work to do. The fuel was low enough now to where I knew we had speed in this car, and I was certainly still getting used to the ERS management, as I hadn't played F1 2018 in quite some time, probably about a week, so I was just kind of getting back into the ERS management, getting used to that, but I was starting to get the handle of it a little bit more as we went there, as you see me just in front of the Toro Rosso of Daniel Kvyat as we went down towards the next few corners. Or that's actually Alexander Albon behind me. I thought that was Daniel Kvyat, but it's actually Albon right behind us there. But we would continue to run down the cars up ahead. Lando Norris was the next one ahead of us now as we came through on lap 14, slowly reeling them in as he was actually in a battle with the Williams of George Russell, another rookie, as there's so many rookies this season, including myself. As we come through turns 1, Norris getting into a nice scrap with Russell. He would get clear, and as we came through the DRS straight on the third sector, we would look to the right-hand side of Russell as we had run him down, and as we went into the right-hander, we would be able to pull the pass off on Russell and now set our sights on Lando Norris, another rookie here in this season, as we head down into the penultimate corner. I've said penultimate so many times in this episode now as we head down through on lap 17. Norris once again into a scrap with another Williams car with Robert Kubica, and we're going to do a double overtake there as we went down the first DRS straight here of this first sector, and we will get past Norris and Kubica now on lap 18, making a move to the left-hand side of Carlos Sainz and making that work as we came out of turn 1. So at this point, just clicking off position after position, now back into the top 10 here in points now as we went down into the right-hander, closing in on Daniel Kvyat at this point. And our teammate Roman Grosjean still had to make a pit stop, so we know we're going to get another position as he was actually coming to the pit lane on this lap as he comes through to make his final pit stop of the day, continuing to reel in Daniel Kvyat here as we head down into the left-hander. And Kvyat, he would come to pit lane as well, so we are going to move up into that 8th position as behind us Lando Norris sits there in the McLaren, but he was not quite close enough to stick with me. And as we come through on lap 20, a little quick update on the race. So you see Charles Leclerc leading the race, Hamilton second, Verstappen at this point was third, and Sebastian Vettel was P4. Things would certainly shake up a little bit before it ended, but that's what the running order of the top guys were at this point. Pierre Gasly was somewhere behind as the usual. Now as we come through on lap 20, just setting my own pace as we had pulled away from Lando Norris, but 7th place was too far ahead for me to run down at this point, so I knew kind of we were on an island of our own at this point for the rest of the race. Perez up there in 7th. We actually have 2 Force Indias in the top 10. Lucas Weber up in the 6th position. Perez sitting P7. Behind us at this point was 9th place of Kimi Räikkönen there, so a great run for Räikkönen. And as we came through on lap 26, still on an island of my own, over 10 seconds behind Perez and we were many seconds ahead of Raikkonen, but Grosjean, our teammate, had actually overtaken Raikkonen and had moved up into 9th, and as we came now to just the final lap of this race, still on an island of my own, nothing really happening now on this final lap, so it was just kind of managing the rest of this race now as we head down through this first sector on the final lap here in Australia. Roman Grosjean up in P9, so we're going to edge out our teammate by 1 spot as long as we don't make a big mistake here on this final lap. They're getting a little bit of oversteer on the exit of that left-hander. But in the meantime, Lewis Hamilton had taken the lead here in the Australian Grand Prix, and he would come through to win the first Grand Prix of the season. Lewis Hamilton wins in Australia. Sebastian Vettel comes through to get P2, and his teammate Charles Leclerc comes through to get the final podium position. Obviously, Ferrari is the team we're aiming at getting to hopefully next season, and it's just about whose spot are we going to take. Is it going to be Leclerc's or Vettel's? It would make more sense to maybe take over Sebastian Vettel. Obviously, Charles Leclerc being the up-and-coming star of Ferrari now as we head down through the last sector here in the Australian Grand Prix. We had a bit of a shaky start here to start in Australia, so it wasn't great, but now we come through the penultimate corner heading down into the final turn here in Australia. Other than the start, it was a great race for us here in the first attempt at an F1 race in my career. Now as we head down the front straightaway, we would come through to finish in the 8th position here in Australia for our first Formula 1 race.
That was an excellent drive.
A great result that I was very satisfied with.
And Mercedes have pulled off a great victory here today. Talk to me, Ants. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
I really feel the track layout combined with the track temperatures we saw today suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners today.
Alright, so there you saw the podium celebration. Fastest lap of the day was Sebastian Vettel, so he gets an extra point. But a great race here in Australia. Next one we will be going to Bahrain, and that's a track that I usually struggle at, so I'm not sure what to expect there. I haven't recorded it yet, but I have run a race. I have 2 career modes going on, the YouTube one, and then I have just my own time career mode, which I'm doing with Alfa Romeo currently, and I've done Bahrain there. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. But as always, if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe for some more Formula 1 2019 content there. Our rep goes up pretty good for the Rich Energy Haas F1 team. Didn't really change for Ferrari, unfortunately, hoping that it goes up for Ferrari. But a great result for us here in Australia. Emma, she's certainly happy about that, so that's good. But yeah, like I said, the next one we will be going to the Bahrain Grand Prix. And we have a press interview here from Lucas Weber, so certainly I really like this feature that they kind of show what our rivals and just other drivers are saying. But Lucas Weber, a good past teammate from F2, we know he has pretty good things to say about us. But yeah, I mean, our first Grand Prix here in Australia went much better than I was expecting. I think maybe the AI might need to be turned up to maybe 107. But there we are, beating Grosjean in our first rivalry there. And I forgot to choose a rival going into Bahrain, so I'll have to do that after. And we would come through to make our first few R&D upgrades, and hopefully they will be successful, and immediately I go up as well to unlock the durability, as that's going to be an important one here within this season. So hopefully we can pick up some pace and be a big challenger to Renault, although they clearly have mechanical issues, as you saw Daniel Ricciardo unfortunately DNF. But that'll do it for this episode, so I will see you guys in the next one for Bahrain. Thank you for watching, everybody, and have yourselves a great day.